My mother-in-law poisoned my tiramisu to steal my company while I lay unconscious. What she didn't know, I'd spent 3 years preparing for exactly this. I woke up and texted my attorney 2 words: execute everything. The room smelled like peonies and betrayal, in that order. I registered the flowers first, a fat, expensive bunch of them, pale pink, sitting in a hospital vase on the windowsill, like a prop in a play someone had been rehearsing for months. Then the IV needle taped to the back of my left hand, then the cardiac monitor, its green line tracking my pulse with the indifferent patience of a machine that doesn't know what the humans in the room are planning, then the voices. The door was half open, the hallway light was still on, the weak, institutional yellow of a hospital at 2 a.m., and through the gap I could see the edge of a cashmere sleeve, pale gray, Gretchen Prescott's color. Are you sure she took it? Low, almost whispered. The voice of a woman who has spent 30 years managing rooms and knows when to lower her register. Then my sister-in-law Paige, with the quiet laugh she uses when she wants to sound casual and always sounds anything but. Relax, Mom. She ate half the plate. By tomorrow morning, everything will be ours. I lay completely still. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Eyes at half-mast, exactly where they'd been when the voices started. My left hand found my phone under the blanket edge, where I'd slid it when I first came around. Battery at 34%. 1 bar of signal. I typed 11 words to my attorney. Rachel, I'm awake. They're in the hallway. Execute the plan. Now. Sent at 2:07 a.m. Her response came in 40 seconds. Already moving. Stay still. Don't let them know you heard. I set the phone back under the blanket edge. I closed my eyes the rest of the way. I listened to Gretchen's cashmere sleeve shift against the door frame, and I thought about the tiramisu, and I thought about the 3 years it had taken me to get here, and I thought about the fact that she had just made the most expensive miscalculation of her life, and I waited for morning. Let me tell you how you build a company from nothing, in case you've never done it. You start with a laptop and a filing cabinet and an idea that won't leave you alone. You spend 4 months reading every piece of healthcare regulatory guidance the state of North Carolina has published in the last decade. You get licensed, bonded, and credentialed in a sequence that takes twice as long as anyone told you it would. You hire your first employee, a home health aide named Darnell, who is meticulous and kind and shows up 11 minutes early every single day. And you stay up until midnight processing his first payroll on software you taught yourself from YouTube tutorials. Then you do it again, 23 times. Rowan Home Health, my name, my LLC, my 6-county service area, my contracts with 4 hospital systems and 2 county departments of aging. I built it in 4 years starting at 29, while working part-time as a healthcare administrator to keep the lights on. I know every clause in every contract. I wrote the employee handbook from scratch. I can tell you our Q3 revenue within $400 without looking it up. I built it, all of it. My name is Vivian Reyes Prescott. I am 36 years old, and I have been married to Tyler Prescott for 3 years, and his mother, Gretchen Prescott, has been trying to take my company for every single one of them. Gretchen is 61. She is the kind of woman who uses the word family the way a chess player uses a piece, strategically, positioned for maximum effect, advanced when it's useful and sacrificed without sentiment when it isn't. She runs the Prescott Family Trust, which her late husband Randall built through commercial real estate in the 90s, and which now represents just over $4 million in managed assets. She has strong opinions about China patterns, about who sits where at the family table, and about the correct structure of a woman's financial life once she has married into the Prescott name. She told me twice in the first year of my marriage that family shares, said it warmly, over wine, looking at me with the expression of a woman offering something valuable. I understood what she was offering. I said no, both times very politely, the way you say no to something that would destroy you if you said yes. That was when the other things started. The first thing was the money. December of our first year married. I opened our joint account. We'd kept one for household expenses, my idea, a gesture toward partnership that I now understand was the single structural vulnerability she had been waiting for, and found a $12,000 discrepancy. Tyler said it was a transfer he'd forgotten to mention, a loan to his brother. He'd pay it back. I moved most of my personal savings out of any joint account the following week. I told Tyler it was a budgeting decision. I told myself it was precautionary. 5 months later, another $5,000. Same account. Tyler's explanation was slower this time. Vaguer. Family stuff. I'll sort it. I said nothing. I had already sorted it myself. Then Tyler asked over dinner one Tuesday, casual, looking at his plate, "Is your business account only in your name?" I put my fork down. I looked at him. He didn't look up. "Your mother asked you to ask me that," I said. He didn't answer, which was, of course, its own kind of answer. I went to bed at my normal time. I lay in the dark and I thought about the $17,000 and the question about the business account and the way Gretchen looked at my company, the way certain people look at things they've already decided belong to them. I called my attorney the next morning. Rachel Keller has been practicing business and estate law in Charlotte for 19 years. She is 44, compact, precise, the kind of woman who takes notes in a very small, very even handwriting and never misses a deadline. I'd worked with her since the year I incorporated Rowan, and I trusted her the way you trust someone who has seen you make decisions under pressure and has never once made you feel like the pressure was the problem. I told her what was happening. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "I want you to start documenting everything. Dates, amounts, exact words. If anything comes out of a printer or off a computer, I want a photograph of it. Don't confront anyone. Don't let them know you're watching. Just document. And if it escalates, then we'll be ready," she said. "Let's make sure we're ready before it escalates." That was 8 months before the tiramisu. I found the forged document on a Wednesday in September. Tyler had left his work bag in the hallway, half unzipped, the way he does when he's distracted. I wasn't looking for anything. I was moving it out of the path to the door. door. A sheaf of papers slid out onto the floor. I picked them up. Healthcare power of attorney. My name at the top in clean sans serif type. 4 pages of legal language. And at the bottom of page 4, on the signature line, my signature. I stood in the hallway for a long time, holding those pages. I know my own signature. I've signed my name on contracts, payroll documents, tax filings, lease agreements, 47 different regulatory forms over 4 years of building a healthcare company. My capital 5 has a specific stroke, a slight leftward lean at the start, a crossbar that doesn't quite close at the top, a quirk I developed in high school and never corrected. The V on that signature was almost right, not right. My hands were completely steady when I photographed every page. Then I put the document back exactly as I'd found it, slid the papers back into the bag, moved the bag against the wall. Then I sat in my car in the driveway for 11 minutes before I went back inside and made Tyler coffee. That night, after he was asleep, I opened his laptop. He'd been careless with it, left it on the kitchen counter, logged in. I don't believe in going through a spouse's computer. I also don't believe in letting someone steal your company while you observe good digital manners. I took 30 seconds to decide which principle was more important. The email was in an open tab. Gmail. Subject line, emergency conservatorship timeline. From Gretchen's personal account to a name I didn't recognize. Her attorney, I would later confirm, a man named Philip Dunmore, who specializes in estate and conservatorship law and whose online profile describes him as aggressive in pursuing client interests, which is one way to put it. I read it once. Then I photographed the screen. 4 steps. Clean, numbered, specific. A plan assembled over months by a woman who does not do anything halfway. Step 1. Present the forged POA at hospital admission. Step 2. File for emergency conservatorship through Judge Harwell's clerk, confirmed for Thursday. Step 3. Redirect all accounts into the Prescott Family Trust within 48 hours. Step 4. Seize operational authority over Rowan Home Health through the interim management clause I'd written 2 years ago in my own LLC operating agreement. The innocent clause? The one I'd added before I knew what they were planning. The one that said if incapacitated, Tyler serves as interim manager. They had a judge's clerk. They had a lawyer. They had my own legal documents turned against me. They had a forged signature and a 4-step timeline. All they needed was me, incapacitated, in a hospital bed. I closed the laptop. I went to bed. The next morning, I called Rachel Keller and told her everything. Her silence lasted exactly 4 seconds. Okay, she said. Here's what we're going to do. Rachel moved fast, and she moved clean. First, the trust restructure. Tyler removed as any party of interest. Rachel named emergency trustee with explicit authority to act on my behalf if I became unreachable for any reason. Business succession plan rewritten to root authority to my operations director, not my husband, in case of incapacitation. All of it executed and filed within 72 hours. Second, the forged POA. Rachel challenged it in the county clerk's system using the photographs I'd taken, flagged it formally as a contested document, which meant that if anyone tried to present it at a hospital admission, the system would flag the challenge 6 weeks before the dinner, before they made their move. Third, the dead man's switch. If I went more than 4 hours without responding to Rachel's check-in text, she had standing instructions to execute every protective measure automatically. No call from me required. No window of vulnerability. Fourth, baseline blood work at my doctor's office. Every marker documented, clean, time-stamped, filed with Rachel as a pre-event health record. She attached it to a police report template she pre-drafted. Date blank, details blank, ready to file the moment there was something to file. Fifth, my friend Nora. Nora Vasquez has been a pharmacist for 11 years, the last 7 as clinical pharmacy director at Novant Presbyterian, which is the hospital where someone would most likely take me if I collapsed at a Prescott family dinner in South Charlotte. She is meticulous, credentialed, and one of the few people I'd told the full story to. I asked her to stand by. If I was admitted to Novant Presbyterian under any circumstances, she would call the nursing station and request a full toxicology panel, stat priority, suspected poisoning, before any family member could direct the staff otherwise. She said, "Vivian, you're going to this dinner? I need them to think the plan worked." I said. A pause. "You're terrifying," she said. "I'll have my phone on all night." I went to the Prescott family dinner on a Saturday evening in October. I wore a dark green dress. I brought a bottle of Barolo that Gretchen would appreciate and probably not open. I kissed Tyler's cheek at the door. I complimented the table. Gretchen's tiramisu was presented at dessert with a specific warmth, the warmth of a woman offering something she'd been planning for a long time. "I remembered you mentioned loving it," she said, serving me a generous portion. 2 years ago, at the lake house. She had been saving that detail like a weapon. 2 years. That's how long she'd held on to a throwaway preference, waiting for the right context to deploy it. I told her it looked wonderful. I took the first bite, the second, the third bite had it. Underneath the mascarpone, past the espresso, a flatness on the back of the tongue, chemical, slightly medicinal, the kind of thing you'd miss if you weren't paying attention, and that I had been paying very close attention to for 8 months. I ate half the plate. 20 minutes later, the room tilted. My palms went cold. My vision blurred at the periphery. Not blackout dark, but the specific soft-edged blur of a benzodiazepine coming up. I knew what it was before the dizziness fully arrived. I recognized it the way you recognize something you've studied. I looked across the table. Gretchen was watching me. Not the way you watch a dinner guest, the way you watch a clock, measuring, patient, the expression of a woman for whom this moment has already been lived dozens of times in planning and is now simply executing on schedule. Quick pause. If you want more stories like this in better quality, my Spotify's linked in the description. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, texted Rachel. Symptoms starting. Benzo, I think. Nausea and visual blur. Stand by. Her response? Nora already called. They're ready. Go back out and let Tyler drive you. So I did. I went back to the table. table. I told Tyler I wasn't feeling well. His face did something complicated, concern and guilt fighting for real estate, and he suggested they take me to the hospital. Gretchen was already standing, already offering her coat. They wanted me at a hospital. It was step 1 of the plan. I let them take me because it was step 1 of mine. The VIP room was Gretchen's touch. She'd specifically requested it at admission, paid for the upgrade herself, which I found out later, which tells you everything about how much she'd planned and how certain she was. You don't upgrade your victim's hospital room unless you are very, very confident about the outcome. I came around at 1:52 a.m. a 4 in my left hand, monitor running. The room smelled like the peonies she'd brought, which meant she'd been there, left flowers, gone to the hallway, which meant she'd been watching me sleep and decided I was sufficiently unconscious to talk freely just outside my door. A miscalculation, the last one she'd make. I lay still, breathing slow, listening to every word from the hallway until the voices moved away. Then I reached under the blanket edge for my phone. Battery at 34%. Execute the plan. Now. Rachel Keller arrived at 7:45 a.m. Gray blazer, black portfolio. A flat expression that could mean anything, and in my experience usually meant she had already won and was simply proceeding in order. She set her portfolio on the chair by the window next to Gretchen's peonies. She did not look at the peonies. At 8:03 a.m., the toxicology results came back from Nora's stat request. Benzodiazepine compound, non-prescribed, concentration consistent with oral ingestion 8 to 12 hours prior. Nora had flagged the chart and copied the attending physician, Dr. Sandra Osei, 8 years in emergency medicine, who had the look of someone who had seen a great number of things and was not accustomed to being surprised, and was, this morning, somewhat surprised. Dr. Osei came into my room at 8:08. She looked at my chart. She looked at me. Ms. Reyes Prescott, can you tell me what you ate last night? I told her about the tiramisu. I told her about the bitterness on the 3rd bite. She made notes. She did not look like a woman who was going to be managed by a family in a waiting room. At 8:10 a.m., Gretchen arrived. She had dressed carefully. Pressed blouse, good jewelry, the specific put-together quality of someone who wants to project concerned family member to hospital staff. She was holding the peonies, a second bunch apparently, and wearing her most reliable expression, gentle authority, slightly aggrieved. She pushed open the door, took 2 steps into the room, and stopped. She had never seen the woman in the gray blazer before. Rachel didn't extend her hand. She gestured to the couch against the wall in the precise way of someone directing the geography of a room they have already claimed. Mrs. Prescott, please sit down. The peonies lowered an inch. Rachel opened the portfolio. She did it without drama, without preamble. The way you open something when you want the documents to do the talking and you trust them completely. First folder, the forged power of attorney, with the county clerk's challenge notation and the date it was filed. 6 weeks ago, well before this hospital admission, well before any claim could be made that I'd acted in response to the dinner. The stroke of the V enlarged and annotated by a forensic document examiner Rachel had retained. Wrong. Demonstrably wrong. Second folder, the conservatorship email. Gretchen's name in the sender field. Philip Dunmore's name in the recipient field. 4 numbered steps. Printed on Rachel's letterhead with a timestamp from the night I photographed it. Third folder, the police report. Filed at 6:38 that morning by Rachel on my behalf. Suspected poisoning, assault by administering a noxious substance. Referencing the toxicology results now confirmed in my medical chart. Fourth folder, the emergency restraining order. Granted at 7:52 a.m. by a duty judge, prohibiting any member of the Prescott family from making medical or financial decisions on my behalf, from accessing any account associated with Rowan Home Health, and from approaching within 100 feet of my business premises. Gretchen had gone very still on the couch. Tyler was in the doorway. He'd followed his mother in and had stopped behind her, and he was looking at the folders the way you look at something that confirms a thing you'd been telling yourself wasn't real. Paige had arrived a minute behind them. She was looking at her phone, then at Rachel, then at her mother, running a calculation I could see happening in real time. Mom, Paige said. Her voice had lost its steadiness. The mascara was already going. She has blood work from before. Mom, she has blood work. Gretchen didn't look at her. She looked at me, and then she did the thing I'd been watching her do for 3 years. The thing I'd seen her do at every dinner table and every family gathering when a situation moved against her. She drew herself up, the straight spine, the lifted chin. 30 years of running the Prescott name like a corporation, of making rooms rearrange themselves around her certainty. After everything this family has done for you, she said. Her voice was very controlled. After we welcomed you, after we gave you the Prescott name. She looked at me from across the hospital room, at the IV in my arm, at the monitor running my heartbeat in green lines, at the attorney she hadn't expected, and the documents she hadn't prepared for, and she delivered that line like a verdict. I looked back at her. Family doesn't poison family, Gretchen. The room was completely silent. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Detective Laura Mendez, 14 years with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, arrived at 9:15 a.m. She was accompanied by a second officer, and she had, already, the expression of someone who has read a file thoroughly and found it straightforward. She spoke to Gretchen in the hallway. I could hear it through the same half-open door. The tone of the conversation was very different from the one I'd heard at 2 a.m. Gretchen Prescott was arrested the following afternoon. Class C felony. Assault by administering a noxious substance. Up to 98 months. Her attorney, Philip Dunmore, withdrew from her representation within the week, which tells you what he thought of the case. A new criminal defense attorney filed an appearance 2 days later. Tyler came to see me the morning after the arrest. He sat in the chair by the window, the chair Rachel had vacated, and he looked at his hands for a long time. He said he hadn't known about the tiramisu. I believe that is almost true. He said he'd known about the conservatorship plan and had told himself it was just his mother's anxiety, that it wouldn't go anywhere, that she was just being Gretchen. That's not a defense, Tyler, I said. That's a description. He left. I watched him go. The divorce was filed on a Tuesday. Rachel handled it, as she handles everything, with economy and accuracy. Tyler did not contest the business provisions. I kept Rowan Home Health, which I had always planned to keep, which has always been mine, which no one had ever successfully taken $1 of. 8 months later, I am sitting in my office at Rowan, the one with my name on the door and my name on the LLC and my name on every contract in the filing cabinet beside my desk. Darnell, my first hire, meticulous, 11 minutes early every day, knocked on my door this morning to tell me we've just signed our 5th hospital system contract, which brings our service area to 9 counties. I said thank you and meant it in a way that went further back than this morning. The criminal case is proceeding. Gretchen's preliminary hearing is scheduled for next month. I've been told to expect to testify, which I will do without any difficulty whatsoever. Nora and I have standing dinner plans on the first Thursday of every month. I have never once ordered the tiramisu. Rachel Keller sends me a check-in text every Monday morning. I respond within 4 seconds. There's one thing I've thought about often in the months since, not with anger exactly, and not with satisfaction exactly, but with the specific quiet of a thing that has finally resolved itself into its true shape. Gretchen spent 3 years calculating how to take from me. She studied me. She saved details. She built a timeline. She had a judge, an attorney, a forged document, and a 4-step plan. She remembered I liked tiramisu. What she forgot was that I had spent 3 years watching her back. She said by morning, everything would be theirs. She was right about the morning. She just didn't know I'd been awake the whole time.